All right, hello friends. We are switching it up today. And today we're going to talk about why am I avoiding that? All right, so there's many different things that we avoid, and avoiding things is a very common pattern for neurodivergent and ADHD entrepreneurs. And so today I'm going to talk about maybe some reasons why you're avoiding things and maybe some things you're doing in place of doing the things you're avoiding. All right? Hello, I am Carolee, and I'm a productivity strategist for ADHD and neurodivergent entrepreneurs for your business, your household, and your life because they are constantly intertwined, all right? So let's jump right in. What is avoidance? All right, so avoidance is simply the action of keeping away from someone or not doing something, okay? So that's it in really, really short terms, right? So sometimes we're aware of this and sometimes we're not. And this is a lot like procrastination. Okay, procrastination, we all know what that one is. There is no shame or comparison around here. So simply voicing that you're overwhelmed or avoiding something, essentially, is a really, really good first step to actually stop avoiding it. So I encourage you to drop in the comments what you are currently avoiding. Okay, ordinarily we're aware of what we're avoiding, but we aren't entirely creating ways of fixing it. So let's get started on some tasks that are frequently avoided by ADHDers especially. Paying credit card bills on time. Who is guilty of this? I certainly am. Let's see, visiting the doctor or dentist. Yeah, definitely me too. Preparing taxes. Who ends up doing them, but it's super late. Submitting work in general. Okay. Calling anyone. Eating healthy, going to the gym, eating healthy and going to the gym, things we tend to avoid. And household responsibilities. A lot of times, a lot of these are because it involves starting. Starting is the hard task, so we just avoid it altogether. Why are these things that ADHDers would typically avoid seem like ordinary things? Because they are. But it's something that you as an ADHDer have struggled with probably your whole life. But it's not seen as a struggle, it's seen as being lazy in a neurotypical world. And so it might just be starting the task that is actually the part where you struggle, and you just need accommodations to be able to do that. There was an article I read on ADHDboss.com, and they stated that avoidance is a form of coping with stressors due to having impaired executive function, like struggling with planning, problem solving, self-motivation, self-control, etc. Okay, so avoidance patterns might not be completely your fault per se, but you still need to find ways to avoid avoidance. We're going to avoid avoidance, all right? Let's like raise your hand. We're going to avoid avoidance. Okay, it's not actually accurate, but we're going to work through those avoidance tendencies and we're going to lessen them, okay? So these might actually be some things that you find yourself doing that are contributing to your avoidance. These are some common activities that you may be doing in place of your tasks that you should be doing. So these are common avoidance activities, all right? And so the first one, this one's my favorite, maybe. All right, excessive research. You never feel prepared or knowledgeable enough. So you're constantly researching. And so your brain, we don't have a problem to learn. Our brain absorbs everything. It's actually implementing and executing. And so excessive research gives our brain like what it wants, essentially. But what happens is that we end up getting on information overload and we don't actually do the next step. And so when we're avoiding something like doing the next step, maybe it's scary, maybe you just don't know how to do it, maybe you just don't want to do it, like maybe, whatever, insert reason, excessive research might be part of the things that you end up doing. All right, so negative self-talk, okay? Shame, guilt, talking down on yourself and your abilities. Who does that one? Yeah, it's very common. We end up going into a shame spiral of some sort, and we start talking very negatively to ourselves. One of the other common avoidance activities is waiting for the perfect time to start a project, even though we usually have a little idea of how long it will take. Who has definitely done that one? All right, so the perfect time will never be here. You either do it now or you do it later, or you do it never. Your choice. But waiting for the perfect time isn't going to be suitable. So you have to put in different parameters to know when to start. All right. This is a common avoidance tactic. It's like, oh, I'm just waiting for the perfect time to do it. The next one is overthinking everything. Who does it? Who's constantly overthinking everything? Constantly thinking about solutions, others' opinions, and if you're worth it. This is a common avoidance tactic for not launching things, for not actually putting out the solutions, actually. Okay? This one kind of ties into this. This next one ties into this. Worrying about the what ifs. These are things that may happen. Always thinking about the worst case scenario. What ifs are things that may happen. There is no guarantee. There's not even really a possibility, quote unquote. We just literally are saying, what's the worst case scenario? And we're inserting it. So what happens is that we just literally are like, well, what if this happens? Here's a solution. What if this happens? Here's a solution. Well, what if this happens? Here's a solution. Okay? We're constantly thinking of the solutions and we're overthinking everything. Next one is always checking social media. There's no notifications. You just scroll or you're looking for validation. Who does this? A lot of us get lost in the scroll, but sometimes it's just an avoidance tactic. Maybe we're avoiding doing a task. Maybe we're avoiding, talking to somebody. Maybe, it could be anything. Maybe we're looking for validation, right? Like someone commented on my post. Someone loved my post. Someone did something, right? We could be looking for that. It's a common avoidance activity. And the last one here is perfectionism. All right. So always having to have things perfect, even if it isn't realistic. Things are never going to be perfect. Even your perception of perfect, which means if you're always trying to be perfect, you're never going to start. And that could just be because you're afraid to start. You're afraid to do the next big thing. And so you're constantly just, oh, well, it's not perfect yet, so I can't launch it. It's not perfect yet, so I can't ask anyone for input, right? Okay. We're constantly waiting. We're going to never start. If you don't see it already, you'll start to see how often you're avoiding and how you're avoiding. Okay, start thinking about it. And if you're brave, start writing about it. Okay, write it down. And I want to tell you something really personal. I used to be a person that planned for all the what ifs, every single one of them. I would overthink everything possible because pros, cons, all the things, right? I would research everything because I didn't want to ask for help. Who struggles with that one. This is not the case anymore, okay? Just want to point that out. And I was the worst at talking to myself. I was always negative. Not a single one of those I do now. Now, there are times, of course, but I do not let any of those things stop me. All right? So there is hope. If that is you, you're stuck in an avoidance spiral, an avoidance tendency going on here, you can put a stop to it, okay? Or at least a pause. All right, there's a pause button as well. So thinking back, I would avoid everything possible. I was the queen of self-sabotage. I had no idea what that word meant then. I'll be straight with you. But I was incredibly good at it, self-sabotaging myself. Like, even to this day, I have a hard time with it. So in case you're not sure what self-sabotage is, it is when you destroy yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, or deliberately, hinder your own success and well-being by undermining personal goals and values. And this comes from a negative mindset. So if you can flip your mindset from negative to a positive mindset, genuinely, you will probably stop self-sabotaging yourself as much. I know. You're like, okay, great. Like, I get it. I'm avoiding things. Now, what do I do to stop avoiding things? Like, do you want to know the answer to that? Yes. I want to know that. And so I took my experience, I took my research, I took, that excessive research when I was avoiding things. Yeah, I did that too. It still happens, but the awareness piece is what's key, and that is actually what step 1 is. Okay, so step 1 is become aware of your avoidance tendencies. All right, you have to acknowledge them. Acknowledging that you're avoiding something makes it aware in your conscious mind instead of your subconscious mind. Okay, so step 1 is become aware of your avoidance tendencies. Step 2 is acknowledge them out loud. Literally, like I'm speaking to you, you acknowledge it out loud. This can be to just yourself, or it can be to someone else, but your brain, your ears need to hear it. Okay. Step 3, decide that you're going to do some scary things that you've been avoiding. Okay. Like maybe step 4. Okay. Step 4 is talk to someone that can support you in moving past avoidance tendencies. Okay? You are going to struggle on your own, period. We always struggle on our own. Like community and a support person. You are always going to do things faster. You're going to do things with less trial and error. You're going to do things with less of a negative mindset to it, period, if you have a good support person or community beside you. All right. And so step 5 is going to be to get some accountability so somebody else knows when you need to do something or when something is due and can check in on you. Okay. I want to point out though, like that, those are the 5 steps on how to stop avoiding things. Acknowledge it, like become aware of it, acknowledge it, say it out loud, right? Do some scary things to like talk to somebody and get some accountability. All right. So accountability kind of has a negative thing to it, especially, I mean, like it's always had a negative thing to it until I was like, oh my gosh, accountability is a game changer. And so accountability can seem scary, especially if avoidance is a usual thing for you. Okay. So don't let that stop you from growing and doing big things in your life though. Over the next few months, I'm going to be addressing some things in the Hyperfocus Treehouse. Okay, the Hyperfocus Treehouse is my group mentorship program, specifically for ADHD or neurodivergent entrepreneurs. Okay, and so we're going to be addressing things like self-sabotage, perfectionism, imposter syndrome, RSD, and many other things that may be a part of your avoidance patterns. Okay, and so with this, I want to invite you to take this next scary step, and I want you to join the Hyperfocus Treehouse program. And in this Hyperfocus Treehouse program, I have a 7-day Jumpstart program. Okay. And that means that you can try out the Hyperfocus Treehouse for 7 days for whatever I happen to have it at below. Okay. So if you're really struggling with these avoidance things, you're going to need some accountability. You're going to need some support. You're going to need a push, and you are an ADHD or a neurodivergent entrepreneur, this is going to be an amazing opportunity for you to try out the Treehouse, to be able to try out a next level step of support where there is like no judgment, accountability. There's no shame. It's genuinely just, I care about you. I love on you. You're an amazing human, and I want to get to know you better and help support you in your business so you can be the most productive person that you can be, right? And that's whatever that means to you. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and like it. Go ahead and subscribe as I drop one new video every single week to help you in your business, your household, or your life so you can become more productive.